On October 12, 2009, a brutal home invasion occurred County Road 127 in Lockhart, Texas. The 180-acre Brown family farm, located 12 miles from the nearest town, became the scene of a meticulously planned attack that would later be linked to a series of similar crimes across the state. A dark Chevrolet van with modified plates was spotted at the property's main gate. 3 armed men breached the perimeter fence using industrial cutting tools. Sean Brown, 42, a third-generation farmer, was conducting routine maintenance in the equipment barn, approximately 140 yards from the main house. His wife, Monica Brown, 39, a local elementary school teacher, was inside with their children, Claire, 14, and Lucas, 11. Monica's final 911 call was interrupted by gunfire. Caldwell County Sheriff's Department dispatch logs show the first emergency call came from neighboring farmer Thomas Wilson, reporting multiple gunshots. Deputy James Martinez found Sean Brown critically wounded in the front yard, having sustained 2 gunshot wounds from a .45 caliber weapon, one to the upper chest and another to the right shoulder. According to the official crime scene report, the attackers executed a coordinated assault on the house. They first disabled the power supply, then breached 3 entry points simultaneously. Forensic evidence indicated that Monica Brown was shot 4 times while attempting to protect her children in the kitchen. Both Claire and Lucas Brown were killed by single gunshots to the head, consistent with execution-style murders. The perpetrators then methodically doused the ground floor with accelerants, focusing on the kitchen and living room areas. Fire investigation report revealed that commercial-grade gasoline was used to ensure rapid spread of the fire. By the time Lockhart Fire Department arrived, the structure was fully engulfed. Medical examiner Dr. Elsa Blesfield's autopsy reports confirmed that all 3 victims died from gunshot wounds, rather than fire-related injuries. Monica Brown's toxicology report showed elevated adrenaline levels, indicating she was conscious and aware during the attack. Both children's reports suggested they were killed while in defensive positions, having witnessed their mother's murder. Sean Brown was transported to Del Seaton Medical Center in Austin. Hospital records document severe blood loss, a collapsed lung, and extensive tissue damage. During his initial police interview, Brown provided Detective Michael Rodriguez with crucial details about the attacker's movements and weapons, demonstrating remarkable clarity despite his trauma. The initial investigation by Caldwell County Sheriff's Department revealed clear signs of a robbery. The family safe, which had contained $15,000 in cash, was found emptied, and Monica's jewelry was missing. Following his release from Del Seaton Medical Center in January 2010, Sean Brown learned that the Caldwell County Sheriff's Department had classified his family's murder as a cold case. Detective Rodriguez's final report cited lack of physical evidence, compromised forensics due to fire damage, and no clear motive as primary reasons for the investigation's suspension. Brown sold the family farm for $1.2 million, significantly below market value, to local land developer Western Plains Agriculture. Hospital records show he used $175,000 of the proceeds for reconstructive surgery and physical therapy. The remaining funds were systematically invested in his private investigation, beginning with the hiring of former FBI agent Marcus Blackwood as his primary consultant. Department of Public Safety records reveal Brown obtained private investigator licenses in Texas, Oklahoma, and New Mexico. He established a database of similar home invasions across these states, documenting 27 cases with matching characteristics: tactical precision, military-grade equipment, and execution-style murders. Working from a modest apartment in Austin, he transformed his living space into an investigation hub, with walls covered in crime scene photos, timelines, and potential connections. Brown's financial records show substantial payments to various informants in the criminal underworld. Former Detective James Morrison, who assisted in the investigation, noted Brown's systematic approach to gathering intelligence. He established a network of contacts in local law enforcement, private security firms, and even prison informants, spending approximately $450,000 on information over the decade. The breakthrough pattern emerged when Brown identified a consistent detail across multiple crime scenes: the attacker's unusual method of cutting security systems. This signature technique matched military training provided at Fort Benning between 1995 and 1997, narrowing the potential suspect pool. Additionally, ballistic reports from 3 separate crime scenes confirmed the use of custom-modified .45 caliber ammunition, manufactured by a specialized weapons dealer in Oklahoma. Brown's investigation records, later seized by authorities, revealed meticulous documentation of potential suspects' movements. He accumulated over 10,000 pages of surveillance notes, photographs, and witness statements. His research indicated that the perpetrators operated in a specific geographic triangle between Texas, Oklahoma, and New Mexico, with a pattern of rotating their activities to avoid detection. In 2015, Brown's investigation intersected with an FBI task force examining a series of agricultural property crimes. While the FBI's investigation focused on insurance fraud, Brown's detailed records provided crucial links between seemingly unrelated cases. However, the federal investigation was suspended due to budget constraints, leaving Brown to continue alone. Medical records from this period show Brown's declining physical health, including symptoms of severe PTSD and chronic pain from his injuries. Yet, his investigation notes maintained remarkable clarity and organization. Dr. Helen Martinez, his treating psychiatrist, documented his singular focus on the investigation, noting that it had become his sole reason for existence. By 2018, Brown had compiled enough evidence to identify potential suspects, though he kept this information private. His bank records show increased spending on surveillance equipment and tactical gear, while his communication with law enforcement gradually ceased. By early 2019, Brown's investigation files identified Ray Tucker as the gang's leader. Tucker's military records revealed his background as a Special Forces operative at Fort Benning, where he served as a tactical instructor from 1995 to 1997. After his dishonorable discharge for suspected weapons trafficking, Tucker maintained connections with various criminal enterprises across the southern states. The Hogan brothers, Mike and Steve, emerged as Tucker's primary accomplices through prison records and police reports. Mike Hogan's history included multiple arrests for armed robbery and weapons charges, while Steve's background in private security provided the gang with insider knowledge of surveillance systems. Both brothers had served under Tucker at Fort Benning, establishing a connection that would later evolve into their criminal partnership. DMV records traced the gang's movements through vehicle registrations and traffic violations. The brothers maintained legal residence at a farmhouse outside Oklahoma City, while Tucker operated several shell companies registered to different addresses across Texas. Bank records revealed a pattern of cash deposits in small amounts at various locations along Interstate 35, indicating regular travel between their territories. Brown discovered their base of operations at the abandoned Desert Palm Motel, located on Route 283 in rural Oklahoma. The property, officially condemned in 2015, had been purchased through one of Tucker's shell companies. Surveillance photographs documented regular meetings at the location, with vehicles registered to known associates frequently present at the site. The gang's criminal pattern became clear through insurance claim records. They targeted isolated agricultural properties with substantial insurance policies, executing precision strikes that appeared as professional hits rather than robberies. FBI files linked them to 17 unsolved cases across 3 states, though investigators lacked sufficient evidence for prosecution. Brown's surveillance logs detailed the gang's routines. Tucker handled planning and logistics from his Oklahoma City apartment, while the Hogan brothers conducted reconnaissance of potential targets. Their operation maintained strict communication protocols, using burner phones and encrypted messaging systems to coordinate activities. Local police reports documented the gang's methodology. They typically spent weeks observing targets, noting security weaknesses and family routines. Their attacks demonstrated military precision, with each member performing specific roles. Tucker's tactical experience was evident in their escape routes and evidence destruction techniques. Through confidential informants, Brown learned of the gang's connection to a larger criminal network. They occasionally performed contract killings for organized crime groups, explaining the professional nature of their operations. The attack on Brown's family matched their signature style: quick execution, fire to destroy evidence, and no theft to suggest routine robbery. The breakthrough in tracking their movements came when Brown identified their vehicle maintenance pattern. The gang serviced their vehicles at specific locations along their regular routes, allowing him to establish their approximate schedule. This information, combined with cell tower data obtained through private sources, enabled Brown to predict their movements with increasing accuracy. Property records show Brown rented a single-story house at Pine Grove Road in Edmond, Oklahoma, under the alias David Wilson. The location, 3 miles from the Desert Palm Motel, provided optimal surveillance positions of the gang's movements. Brown's rental agreement, signed through a property management company, included specific provisions for basement modifications, which he claimed were for a home recording studio. Hardware store receipts documented extensive purchases of soundproofing materials from multiple locations across Oklahoma City. Materials included industrial-grade acoustic foam, double-layer drywall, and rubber isolation barriers. Construction supply orders also showed deliveries of concrete for additional floor reinforcement and specialized ventilation equipment. Medical supply records revealed purchases of pharmaceutical-grade sedatives through offshore websites. Brown's internet search history showed extensive research on dosages and administration methods. He acquired medical restraints and monitoring equipment through various medical surplus auctions, establishing a carefully equipped containment facility. A systematic surveillance log detailed the gang's patterns. Tucker maintained residence at the Oklahoma City luxury apartments, while the Hogan brothers alternated between the Desert Palm Motel and their farmhouse. Brown's notes documented their separation patterns, identifying a 2-hour window every Wednesday when Tucker met with associates at a local diner, leaving the brothers to handle equipment maintenance. Brown's preparation included the purchase of 3 different vehicles: a white Ford utility van, a black Chevrolet Suburban, and a blue Toyota Camry. Vehicle registration records showed all 3 registered under different aliases with addresses in various states. He modified the van with hidden compartments and reinforced interior walls, according to automotive shop receipts. Security camera installations around his rental property created a comprehensive monitoring system. His computer contained detailed maps of the area, including escape routes and alternative roads. Cell phone signal jammers and electronic countermeasure devices were found among his equipment, suggesting plans to prevent any communication during the planned abductions. Brown's notes revealed his surveillance of local law enforcement patterns, documenting police patrol routes and response times. He mapped multiple dead zones in police radio coverage, identifying optimal locations for intercepting his targets. His planning extended to creating false work orders and utility company uniforms to avoid suspicion during the operations. Financial records show Brown withdrew large amounts of cash from various accounts in the weeks leading up to his plan's execution. He stockpiled supplies, including non-perishable food, medical equipment, and materials for extended captivity. A detailed inventory list found later by investigators revealed careful planning for long-term containment of multiple subjects. The final phase of preparation coincided with intelligence, suggesting the gang was planning another operation. Brown's surveillance noted increased activity at the Desert Palm Motel, with multiple vehicles arriving and departing at unusual hours. His last documented notes indicated he had identified the perfect opportunity to begin his plan, tracking the gang members' individual routines and vulnerabilities. Investigation records show Steve Hogan disappeared first, last seen leaving Jake's Auto Repair on March 3rd. Using a fake utility company vehicle, Brown intercepted him during his routine parts pickup. Security footage from a nearby gas station captured the white utility van, but showed no signs of struggle. Mike Hogan vanished 3 days later while conducting surveillance on a potential target farm. His vehicle was found abandoned at a truck stop outside Oklahoma City, with his phone and weapons still inside. Ray Tucker's disappearance followed on March 8th, after his regular meeting at Linda's Diner. His luxury apartment showed signs of a carefully planned abduction, with disabled security cameras and a disabled alarm system. The basement of Brown's rental house was converted into 3 separate containment cells, each equipped with medical monitoring devices and soundproof walls. Records from local hardware stores showed purchases of specialized tools matching the torture implements used against his family. Brown documented each interrogation session with professional-grade video equipment. During recorded confessions, Tucker revealed the attack on Brown's family was commissioned by Marcus Henderson, a real estate developer who wanted to acquire the Brown farm below market value. Bank records later confirmed a $250,000 payment to Tucker's offshore account 3 days before the attack. The gang had executed similar operations for various clients across 3 states. The interrogation videos recovered by police contained detailed confessions of 17 murders, including the identities of other clients who had commissioned hits. Tucker's testimony specifically outlined their tactical approach, confirming they had studied the Brown family's routine for weeks before the attack. Medical evidence suggested Brown employed the same methods of torture the gang had used on their victims, information he had gathered from autopsy reports and crime scene photographs. The basement contained medical supplies and surgical equipment, indicating his victims survived for several weeks under controlled conditions. According to electrical usage records, Brown maintained his prisoners for 27 days. During this time, he systematically extracted information about every crime the gang had committed, documenting names, dates, and locations. The video confessions were methodically organized and labeled, suggesting Brown intended them to be found. Forensic analysis of the basement revealed Brown had recreated specific elements from his family's murder. The final video footage shows him confronting each gang member with photographs of his dead wife and children, before executing them using the same caliber weapon they had used on his family. A journal recovered from Brown's desk detailed his systematic approach to revenge, including a timeline of the gang's crimes and a list of their victims. His final entry read, "Justice isn't blind. She's been watching for 10 years, and now she's finished counting." The bodies were discovered in different locations, each positioned to mirror crime scenes from their previous victims. The discovery of the band members' bodies in various parts of the county, with evidence of prolonged torture, sent shockwaves through the community. The police quickly identified Sean Brown as the prime suspect, and upon searching his residence, they found incriminating evidence, including recordings of the band members' confessions. The investigation revealed that Brown had meticulously planned and executed his revenge, using the same tactics that the band had employed against their victims. As the news of the discoveries spread, the public's reaction was mixed. Some people expressed outrage and condemnation, while others showed sympathy and understanding for Brown's motivations. The media coverage of the case was extensive, with many outlets debating the morality and legality of Brown's actions. The question on everyone's mind was Brown a vigilante or a victim seeking justice? The trial of Sean Brown began on a chilly winter morning in February 2020. The courtroom was packed with reporters, family members of the victims, and curious onlookers. Brown, dressed in a simple white shirt and black pants, walked into the courtroom with a calm and determined demeanor. His lawyer, a seasoned defense attorney, stood by his side, ready to present their case. The prosecution, led by a determined and experienced district attorney, presented a detailed account of the events leading up to the discovery of the bodies. They highlighted the brutality and premeditation of Brown's actions, emphasizing that he had taken the law into his own hands. The prosecution argued that Brown's actions, although motivated by a desire for justice, were unacceptable and punishable by law. Brown's lawyer, on the other hand, presented a different narrative. They argued that Brown's actions were a direct result of the failure of the justice system to protect his family and provide him with closure. They emphasized that Brown had been driven to desperation by the lack of progress in the investigation and the perceived incompetence of the authorities. The defense team also presented evidence of the band's brutal crimes, highlighting the suffering and trauma that they had inflicted on their victims. As the trial progressed, the jury was presented with a wealth of evidence, including testimony from experts, witnesses, and family members of the victims. The recordings of the band members' confessions, which Brown had obtained through his interrogations, were played in court, providing a chilling insight into the minds of the perpetrators. The jury was also shown graphic images of the crime scenes and the victims' bodies, which served as a stark reminder of the brutality of the crimes. After several days of deliberation, the jury delivered a verdict. Sean Brown was found guilty of 3 counts of murder and 1 count of kidnapping. The judge, taking into account the severity of the crimes and the impact on the community, sentenced Brown to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. As the sentence was read out, Brown showed no emotion, his expression a mask of determination and resignation. After the verdict was announced, Sean Brown said, "The murder of my family is a wound that will never heal. The memory of these people keeps me moving forward and seeking justice." The reaction to the verdict was mixed. Some people felt that justice had been served, while others believed that Brown had been unfairly punished. The case sparked a national debate about the morality of vigilantism and the effectiveness of the justice system. Many people questioned whether the system had failed Brown and his family, and whether his actions, although extreme, were a necessary response to the circumstances. In the aftermath of the trial, Brown's story became a catalyst for a wider discussion about the nature of justice and the role of the individual in seeking revenge. The case raised important questions about the limits of the law and the consequences of taking the law into one's own hands. As Brown began his life sentence, the community was left to grapple with the complexities of the case and the moral implications of his actions.